Hi, I'm Wendy from Shiny Happy World, and in this video I'm going to show you how to work with the game birds pattern. So this is a ringneck pheasant, but you can use the same pattern to also make a grouse or a quail or a lot of others of those kind of chicken-like ground birds. So before I get into showing you the details of how to put it together, I do want to show you a little bit about the pattern, the actual pattern pieces. So this is one of my mix and match patterns, which means that you can use the same pieces in a lot of different ways. And I'm going to show you at the end of this video all of the different options that I made. But right now I just wanted to show you what the pattern pieces look like because they're a little bit odd. And the odd thing is really the main body piece. So there's a few different options in here. Here I have the body piece with a top crest and with the back crest both on the piece. And what you'll want to do is cut away whichever ones of those you don't want to use. So if you have, like the pheasant has a little crest that comes off the back of his head, so I cut off the top crest. But you might want to leave the top crest and cut off the back crest, or cut off both of them, and you're going to see all of those options in this video. So another thing to keep in mind, this has got a line here and it says cut here to make head and body from different fabrics. So you would want to just cut that piece across that dotted line, and then, like this bird, you can use one color fabric for the head and another color for the body. But many game birds are the same color throughout. They don't have that contrasting head, and in that case, you would want to cut pieces 3 and 4 all as one piece. The other thing that's a little different here is there is a line that where you can cut the breast piece off. If you want to use this contrasting breast piece, you can cut this away just so that you're not having a double layer of fabric in there. So the pheasant does not have that, so I cut these pieces full. But again, you're going to see some examples, or you're going to see one example that does have a contrasting breast, this piece, and for that I cut away this piece and just ignored this part because this is going to lay right over this line. So just a quick overview of how to use this one variable piece in that pattern, and here is how you put all 3 of them together. Okay, this is the video showing you how to put the pieces together if you do not have a light box. So I've got all of my pieces prepped and ready to go, and since this one is a mix and match pattern, there's not really a lot of markings on the back side that you're going to need to transfer because it varies from bird to bird depending on what you decided to make. So I decided this one is the ringneck pheasant. So I've got all of my pieces cut out, and I did something special with the body piece. So the pattern piece has a dotted line here. That means you can either cut the head and the body all as one color, or if you are choosing a bird like the pheasant, where the head is a different color than the body, you cut that apart on the dotted line before you fuse it to your fabric, and then you cut out 2 separate pieces on 2 separate colors. So I just wanted to point that out, that is an option. So we're going to start with the lower part of the body piece. Now I am making this one what I call snapshot style. So I want it to look like I took a picture of a pheasant and I just zoomed in on the head of it. So it has a body, it's just cut off, and the rest from the photo, it's just not, it's cropped out of the photo. And in order to get that look, I'm going to take this piece, these two straight lines, and I'm going to put them down in the bottom corner of the block. And then after I get everything assembled and I trim it down to size, I'm going to trim it right on those edges so that when I sew the blocks together, that gets buried in the seam allowance, and it kind of duplicates that look of a photograph. So I now have the head piece, which I am not going to overlap this. I'm just going to butt this up here. You could overlap it, but this bird has a ring around his neck. That's what this white piece is. And so this is actually going to cover up those raw edges. So I do not need to overlap those because this is going to overlap both of them. So there we go. All right, now I've got a beak, and his beak points down like that. And it goes pretty high up on his head, but again, you can move that around just a little bit. I should have pointed out, this one has a crest on the back of his head. The pattern piece includes a crest on the back of his head and a crest on the top of his head. And you can just cut off the one that you don't want to use. There's a line there. I can show you on this one. This is the one that I cut out from. The line here, if I didn't want to use that, I've got that line to cut, and you can see that I cut off the crest at the top of his head. So you've got some options that way. Some birds have a crest. I'm going to show you at the end of this video some other variations that I made. So I made a grouse. Some grouse have a crest on the top of their head. And I also made a quail, which does not have a crest on the top of its head, but it does have a special little dealy bopper that is unique to quails. So this one, the pheasant, does have a big red spot on his head, and the point of that spot comes in right about where the top of the beak is. And you've got a guide, a placement guide that'll show you that. And then the last thing it needs, there's not very many pieces. The last thing it needs is an eye, and the eye goes right up in that spot, pretty high up and forward. All right, so that is the pheasant. I'm going to carefully carry this over to my ironing board, fuse everything into place. Just follow the directions on whatever brand of fusible adhesive you use. I use Heat and Bond Light. And then I will do all of the outline stitching on my sewing machine, and then I'll bring it back here and show you the finished block, and also show you the grouse and the quail variations that I made using the same pattern. All right. Here is the finished ring neck pheasant. So this is just one of the options. This is the fanciest option, and that's why I showed it in the more detailed no light box video, so that you could see how to put all of those pieces in there. But I wanted to show you a couple of other options that you can make with the same pattern pieces. So this one is a grouse, and it's a particular variety of grouse that does have a crest on the top of its head. Some ruffed grouse have a crest on the top of their head, but not all of them. So whichever kind you want to make, either use that crest or leave it off, totally up to you. But you're going to get a lot of mileage out of the fabrics that you choose. That's just look at the kind of bird that you're trying to make and choose fabrics accordingly. So some of them have a much, much lighter breast. Some grouse are very uniformly colored throughout, and you would not use the contrasting breast then. Just kind of base it on the bird that you are making. I have one more example. So this one is a quail, and like the grouse, there are lots and lots of different kinds of quail that come in all different color variations. So this is one of the ones I chose that has a very smooth gray body, a very uniformly colored gray body. It doesn't have a contrasting breast, and it doesn't have the top crest or the back crest, but it does have this fancy, very, very fancy top knot that that most quails have, that little bit. But as far as the rest of the body, the coloration is going to be whatever kind of quail you are trying to make. And that's what I love about a mix and match pattern, is that you can make a lot of different things with just one single pattern. So that is 3 examples, just 3 kinds of birds that you can make with the game birds pattern. And I hope you have fun making your own. I'm Wendy from Shiny Happy World, and I will see you next time.